So if it's an unwritten rule, like in baseball, like if you hit one of ours, we hit one of yours, it's not obviously not in the rule book. Blaine, you're not counting that as a real thing? Is that what we're saying? It's not a real thing?
No, it's not. It's an unwritten rule, so it's not a rule. So what are you talking about?
I definition-wise, I get what you're saying about the definition of a rule, but there is unwritten rules in many things, not just sports. There's unwritten menu stuff, like you go to In-N-Out, or you go to Whataburger, some of these places, there's stuff that's not on the menu.
Someone wrote it down somewhere, though.
Yeah, but somebody probably wrote that down somewhere.
That's not, I mean, if it's not a rule, I don't care.
Unwritten rule is just not enough people have supported it yet to make it an official rule.
There's dozens of us.
Okay, there's dozens of us. Dozens. All right, Tom Brady makes Bruce Arians move to the front office. I don't think so. We're going to discuss Shaheen Holloway going from St. Peter's back to his alma mater at Seton Hall, and the U.S. men's national team qualify for the World Cup. We're going, baby. Can they make a run? All that and more today from the bus, the Big Easy Tour 2022 on Crain & Company. So if you haven't heard the news, Bruce Arians, head coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers that won a Super Bowl with Tom Brady a short time ago, a couple years ago, has decided to move to a front office role and let Todd Bowles, the team's former defensive coordinator and a guy who has head coaching experience in the league, become the new head coach. And a lot of people instantly, including myself, looked at the timing and kind of felt it was somewhat fishy. We had Jason Whitlock on from the Blaze and Fearless yesterday and talked about his Tom Brady kind of turning into the LeBron James type of player in where I'm going to dictate what happens with the organization. Basically, he pulled a Captain Phillips, I'm the captain now. And off the cuff, it kind of felt that way. But when you really go back and look, in my opinion, this seems to be something that was in the works for Tampa Bay even before Tom Brady announced that he was coming back. You look at the way that Bruce Arians has kind of operated from a health standpoint. We know him having to wear the apparatus on his heart, basically Tony Stark style, during the game last season is something they've talked about. But I don't think this was a Tom Brady decided that Bruce Arians, it wasn't a good fit. I know they've had beef in the past. A lot of coaches have beef with their quarterbacks. I mean, you can go back to Josh McDaniel and him having beef sometimes during games when Tom Brady was at the Patriots. But I think this was a decision that was going to be made. And when Tom came back, it was kind of the final piece in the puzzle of getting Bruce still part of the organization, but letting Todd Bowles take over as the head coach. I don't think this was something nefarious. You look at kind of the end of free agency when we know Tampa's team, there's most of their team before we get to the draft. And you look, there was speculation about the Dolphins. You know, is he hanging out with Stephen Ross? Could he go to Miami? Tyreek Hill in Miami? All that stuff. Turns out it's just hoopla, really. Don't buy into the narrative that this was a conspiracy theory by Tom Brady to remove Bruce Arians. But two guys I won't remove on the bus, on the tour.
On the bus.
Blaine Crain, David Cohn. Gentlemen, number one, how are you enjoying the bus so far? I'm loving it. And number two, do you think Tom Brady got Bruce Arians moved to a different role?
First of all, the bus is fantastic.
Fantastic.
Right? You agree?
I concur,
bus
Doctor.
Is fantastic. If Bruce Arians really wanted to step down and not coach in the NFL anymore, then fantastic. This is great. Everyone wins. If not, and he was pushed out, then this is not a good look because he's done everything that's been asked of him, I think, since he's been an NFL coach. If he was pushed out by Tom Brady, you know, directly or indirectly, then it really is not a good look because Tom Brady's only had two head coaches in the NFL. If you've had run-ins with both of them at some point, it starts to be you. So I don't know the details. He's going to give a press conference today, correct? So let's just hope that this is that he truly, wants to call an end to his NFL career. The timing, Jake, seems suspect. The timing seems suspect.
Suspect on the point of that Tom Brady tried to get him removed, or suspect from the point of that they were setting
now?
it up?
Here's my thing is, like, if Tom Brady retired earlier in the offseason and you're Bruce Arians, you already won a Super Bowl, your star quarterback is not coming back, kind of hurts your chances to win this upcoming year if there are some health issues, why not step down then? Or step up. I don't know what the front office situation is.
Step down, but stepped up.
Yeah, you can step up to step down.
Addition by subtraction.
When you look at the timing, to me, I think a lot of it, when you get towards the draft, kind of nearing the end of free agency, to me it was almost like Bruce Arians, and then Tom Brady gets added back in the fold, wanted Todd Bowles to be the guy after him in the first place. Now, if you're Bruce Arians, you're looking, you've had some problems. This team is built to win. It'd be a great start for Todd Bowles and the Buccaneers to be able to hand him this team that knows Tom Brady's there, understand what they have on defense, understand the weapons around him. I would almost lean more to, if it was anything nefarious, Bruce Arians realizing he was going to retire before this season and wanted to make sure the machine was built good enough to be able to hand off to Todd Bowles to be able to become the head coach.
I don't know. Follow the bouncing balls here.
Follow the bouncing balls?
Balls?
Oh, I thought you were talking follow the bouncing.
I don't know why
Todd
you follow
Bowles.
the bouncing balls, but the timing here is everything. I'm not a conspiracy theorist or anything
Really?
to a certain extent.
Okay.
Peter
But
Pan.
it's just weird, you know, because if it's me, Bruce, why wouldn't you retire at the end of the season? This is an NFL team. Or you don't need to stay here to make sure it's built good. The owners and everyone can do that, not the coach. Tom retires, you stay. Tom comes back. Right when Tom comes back, and these guys has had beef in the past.
but a lot of coaches.
Yeah, they've had beef in the past. All right, and at the end of the day, who matters more? And I guarantee you that it's Tom Brady is going to matter more than Bruce Arians. You get all the Miami stuff with Tom, right? Is Tom going to Miami? This and that. It's just everything started building up, and the timing of this just doesn't make sense to me. So if it's me and I'm a fan and I'm looking from the outside in, this almost seems that Tom wanted to get to the next chapter and get past Bruce.
So you think?
Yes.
So for that to happen, so what you're trying to Inspector Perot here is
Why don't I know who that is?
is Mystery in the Orient Express, Death on the Nile, Agatha Christie. Read a book.
Okay.
So
It's a movie.
you're saying Mystery on the Orient Express is a
Isn't that
book.
what-
Death on the Nile was books written by
What
Agatha
just came
Christie.
out? What just came out?
Death on the Nile, but
Okay,
Murder on the Orient Express is like one of the most famous books of all time. It's neither here nor there. What I'm saying is, so for this to have happened, you think Tom Brady went to the people in charge for the Bucs and were like, all right, here's the deal. Either Bruce Arians is going to be sunset into like the director of passing fun or, coach happiness, not the head coach. We need to move him to a new role. Or I'm taking Giselle and the kids to Miami where we just bought a new house if this doesn't happen. You think that basically Tom Brady leveraged himself and maybe him going to not only another NFL franchise, but another NFL franchise in the same state?
Look, Tom gets what he wants. Yes, I do. If Tom didn't want Bruce Arians to be the head coach, then that's why Bruce Arians is not the head coach.
So you don't think it has anything to do with Bruce Arians trying to...
I think that's how they're going to play it. I mean, they're going to play the health and it's my time. But if you're going to retire, why wouldn't you have been retired already or stepped up into the program to a bigger role, I guess, after the Super Bowl win? Why would you just not? You don't have to sit around and wait to make sure an NFL team's built well.
What if Tom's strategy was more passive than that and he was just sending screenshot text to the front office of Stephen Ross and at the Dolphins, sending him texts?
Yeah.
Like, hey, I'm just getting a lot of messages here.
He's like, hey, I just want to show you what you're not missing out on if you treat me right.
Exactly. Like
Which
super
means
passive.
Do
the Bucs' chances go up of winning the Super Bowl with Tom Brady coming back? Can I get
Hell
a yes?
yes.
So, do you not think that Bruce Arians, as much as he would want to pass off a good team to Todd Bowles, that's a valid...
Well, we also don't know the health status of Bruce Arians.
We don't.
He may come out of the press conference today and say, "Listen, I'm just at a point now where having to deal with it, I can't do it." That's another factor.
I think from a PR standpoint, you want to lead with that. Though.
Yeah, that's what.
Yeah, but I don't think. Well, I don't think they'd lie about him being like not healthy from a PR standpoint. I think they would.
I just mean
if they were going to make something up, it would be what I was saying. He wanted to hand it off to Todd Bowles and all this other stuff. But I just have a hard time believing, Coach, that you won a Super Bowl with. It's not like you guys went to the Super Bowl and blew it like the Falcons. Okay, that you've won a Super Bowl with, that you come back out of retirement, it takes a while, you get toward the end of free agency, and then Bruce Arians is like, guess what, guys? I'm going to sit this next one out. I'm going to take 5. Todd, enjoy. I still win a ring if we win. I just have a hard time believing that.
Well, why? I don't understand. Why wait? Why would you wait?
Because either something health-wise happened, or he wanted to get it to a point before the draft where he could hand off the team to Todd Bowles, say, listen, here's the ship. No, hadn't hit iceberg yet.
I don't think he has to do that. Like a head coach in college is not. You don't do as much as the NFL as a head coach you do in college. There's people who the owners and everyone there are going to make sure the draft is good, make sure you're scouting the right guys. You're Bruce Arians, and you don't have to sit there and wait to make sure to pass. You don't have to sit there and wait to make sure to pass off
scouting.
Not as much as in college. You know, you're not going to have to do as much.
I feel like you get more. You get to do more just football stuff in the NFL than
Bruce
you do in
doesn't
college.
have to stay after a Super Bowl to make sure you pass off a team to Todd Bowles that's built well. Like he doesn't have to stay to do it. There's people on that staff and in that organization who does that every
from
day.
everything I know about Bruce Arians is the type guy that is always taking care of his guys on his staff. But to me, to say you don't have as much to do with evaluating in college as you do in the NFL,
so you have more. You have way more help.
You have more help in the NFL. Is what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay. What I am saying is from a time devotion standpoint, that head coach can devote a whole hell of a lot more time to being able to scout and watch guys and go through things and evaluate and get them set up for the draft as opposed to college where you're having to do fundraising. You're having to do stuff outside of really just ball. Not that coaches in the NFL don't do a lot of press conferences, but it's all ball related.
Well, if it's a health problem, right? Don't you think he would have got out before having to do all that?
Well, it could be more serious now.
But he hasn't come out and said anything.
Well, he's doing a press conference.
Yeah, he's doing a press conference. So we'll find out on the health thing. But let's just stay on the Bucs real quick because the three of us agreed with Tom Brady coming back that they were a serious contender in the NFC, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it took a final drive from the Rams just to beat them in the playoffs, and the Rams went on and won the Super Bowl. So with this change here, not knowing anything else, with this change, are you more confident in the Bucs, less confident, or no change?
I will always be a little less confident because you're losing a head coach that has won a Super Bowl. That not that Todd Bowles doesn't understand how to get there. It's just different when you get there. And we've seen Todd Bowles, his team sometimes in big moments really, really struggle. I know he kind of got out of that rut recently, but when I look at a team from the top down, from the head coach down, a head coach that has experience winning the Super Bowl, I will always give a little bit of an edge to a guy that's almost gotten there and is now the head coach. But from a talent and roster standpoint, you got as good a shot as anybody, and you got the greatest of all time at quarterback.
We're going to find out from Todd Bowles.
There's no change.
Yeah,
you still have Tom Brady quarterback.
Yeah.
Todd Bowles calls the defense, and Brian Leftwich called the offense.
Yeah, well, I'm going to tell you how much is Byron Leftwich really calling that offense.
It looked like other than Tom Brady, you can say Tom Brady called it, and Brian Leftwich listened.
I mean, yeah.
I think Tom Brady called it.
Look,
Byron Leftwich says, hey, what do you think about this?
I know.
What do you think about that?
I think he's a great OC, but anytime the quarterback is looking at the armband and looks back over and says, no, different one, you know that there's at least some control there.
It's like in Major League Baseball when the pitcher shakes off the pitch. Yeah. Like he shakes off like 2 or 3 times in a row.
Tom Brady's out here making the decisions. He's making the calls.
Tom Brady's probably deciding like, what company hot dogs they buy.
Yeah. I was about to say
hot dogs. He's like, all right, guys, today we're going to make sure we know what we're doing versus cover 2. And also, Oscar Mayer has presented a deal to us. I don't think we can turn down, guys. So let's get to O-line in here to test it out. But I do want to move on, and I do want to say congratulations to the United States men's national soccer team on qualifying for the World Cup. I could not be more excited. I know my speech I gave you the other day was very, very fulfilling and inspirational. It looked like you guys carried that to the field, even though they did lose.
Didn't they lose?
They lost, but they won. They lost, but they won. They, as long as they didn't lose by 6 goals or more against Costa Rica, which we've struggled. We've struggled at Costa Rica, and we've gone down there. They lost 2-0. Couple mishaps, couple mistakes that led to some goals, but they got the job done. Now, with the wizard that is Pulisic, okay, guys, I said something yesterday on social media, and I'm going to continue to say
I'm surprised.
I'll continue to say it. Why do I feel like the United States is making a run?
I don't know.
I want you.
We're going to
record.
Qatar, boys. Y'all want to go? Let's take the bus.
First of all, I find it weird that you can lose a match in anything and advance.
Foreshadowing.
That's weird. Hey, we lost 2-0. Let's all celebrate because we're going to the big dance. Anyway, I'll digress. I want you on record. Here. America winning the World Cup officially. Come on. You just say the words.
I'm going to say make a run. I'm going to say make a run.
Let's make a run.
I think they make it past the knockout stage. First knockout stage.
Okay.
Haven't
they made it to the knockout stage the last 2 World Cups?
At least.
I think they have.
To the knockout stage?
Yeah, I think they have.
I want Belgium.
I don't think so.
Oh.
I want Belgium after what they did
I
this
don't.
last time.
You want
I
Belgium?
don't.
I want Belgium after what they did this last time.
How about Germany?
Don't want that.
Are we a 15 seed?
Yeah, we're St. Peter's for sure. Wait, we need
But
maybe
I
you
don't know.
should
We're
just send
probably
Shaheen Holloway
I don't know.
over
I think
there.
we're more of a Longwood type.
But you're more of a Longwood type.
Since Tennessee beat us by 40.
I know, guys, we're not the best soccer team there. Okay, I know
But we try
got.
hard.
I know we.
I
got,
know that
we have some
you
tough
know
guys.
I know
We
we've
have some
got
tough
like a
players.
mean green situation. You know, with Coach Berhalter over there.
The Big Green?
The
You're
Big
talking about
Green.
Wait, have y'all seen The Big Green?
The Big
I
Green
didn't-
is a classic.
Dude, what a film.
You've seen the Big Green.
Can we get the Big Green egg on the bus?
You
or
don't
the
know
big,
who
the big,
Thanos
the
is,
big
but
green?
you've seen the Big Green.
Oh man, I grew up on the Big Green.
No idea.
You kidding me?
What y'all are talking
Dude, the Big Green, the soccer movie, where the goalie sees like when the other team's coming at him, there'll be like ninjas one time.
Okay, I
like
think I know.
samurai.
Yeah.
The big dude.
Yeah.
The big dude
We're
in
like
goal.
the team from the Big Green trying to play against the Knights. You know, who everybody eats their Pop-Tart at the same time.
Yeah.
Oh,
They're like,
no.
kill.
That's what
Right?
America is running
Yeah.
into.
But do you guys honestly believe that we have a chance to make a run?
No.
Why not? Why don't you believe in America?
In soccer, a lot of reasons. Because no one cares.
No, I care.
There's dozens.
Why do I have a fake microphone in my head?
There's
I
dozens.
get it going.
I think if by run you mean that they're going to get on the pitch and run around.
Well, that's gonna
and-
happen.
Until
Yeah.
the SEC decides they want to be good in soccer, then
Fair
we'll
enough.
never be good.
That is,
Fair
I
enough.
just, can you imagine? We've had a lot of great runs of success in United States sports. I mean, you look at, hockey.
You want this bad.
International
You want
football.
What's
this
the one
bad,
thing we
dog.
don't have?
International.
You want
What's
this
the one
bad.
thing that we don't have? Because
Look,
they
I
all
would love it. I love watching World Cup games.
Could you
I
just
do.
imagine?
But there's nothing that hurts me worse than just America losing in sports. It just kills
that
me.
hurts you the
kills
most.
you?
It kills me.
Does that hurt
when
you?
Belgium beat us? It's like
Dude,
I'm
okay.
so glad a Belgian person wasn't around.
So-
at the time
so
because,
honest-
we can't trust you.
Honest question. Does it hurt you more when you watch the United States lose, like big games like that, or your team
United States
lose? It hurts you worse.
It
for
hurts
Does
me
it?
worse. Like it's a different.
You're a
like,
patriot.
It's a different type of hurt.
Mm.
Like I turn into Mel Gibson. Horses start showing up.
I love that. Horses
Like-
start showing.
He
It just
said
hurts
horses
me.
start showing
Because it
up.
just I don't know.
He's like,
if
tell
my
his son
team
not to go to
loses,
war.
if my team loses, I have people to blame. All right, but if America loses,
So
I can only blame myself.
first of all, we need more young men like you. And
We
second
do.
of all, you know how you always give a speech as the executive or the owner? Like what are you saying? What are you saying when America comes back from the World Cup and they got knocked out in that first stage?
I was like, y'all boys better have your passports ready. So you better have your passports ready. 'Cause we don't lose over here.
Y'all lost
I would
over
just
there.
show them the American versus Russia and
Yeah.
hockey.
It's like,
over and
like,
over.
hey, I want
Miracle?
you to meet.
Yeah,
Let me introduce you to Micah Ruzioni.
Yeah.
Unlike you guys, he figured it
He
out.
just comes in and spits on the floor and leaves. I just can't take it, man.
Well, we'll see. We'll give him before the first round game in Qatar.
I just don't feel like we're gonna play good there. I just don't feel like, hey guys, we're going to Qatar to play.
He said Micah Ruzioni would fucking spit on the floor and leave. That's pretty good.
Bring your passport.
All right, yeah. All right, moving on.
man.
Shaheen Holloway, speaking of moving on, the St. Peter's coach, and I think this deal was done even before they went on their run in the tournament. Former Seton Hall legend,
Yep.
hit a game winner in a big NCAA tournament game for him. Moving on to Seton Hall, where I think he's going to do a hell of a job. But when I look at this kind of in the periphery, how many times, and this is kind of a little bit of an anomaly because I do feel like he had the job locked up, but how many times have a bigger school seen a smaller team make a run in the NCAA tournament and then take a flyer on that coach and hire him, and then either it works out or it doesn't? I wonder what the percentage of, not like unknown coaches, but you look at McMahon at Murray State, who's at LSU now, and you see what he's done. You've seen Shaheen Holloway, what he's been able to do. But we've had examples in the past of coaches that take small schools that'll get on these hot runs during the NCAA tournament, and all of a sudden that coach will go from just for example, like St. Peter's to Michigan or somewhere like that. Like I wonder what the percentage on them hitting on hiring a coach that makes a run like that with a team that may have gone like 18-12 in the regular season. If you were, I'll throw the
AD?
question to you. If you were an AD, would you rather take the hot name that maybe took a 14 seed on a little run in the NCAA tournament and has had a couple good regular seasons, or a guy who's been really, really solid in the regular season and they may have won one NCAA tournament game at like Georgia State or something.
I want the consistency.
I
feel like as an AD, you need to do your due diligence, and you're not going to get, as an AD, you're not going to get any bonus points or any extra PR for hiring the hot guy when 8 months from then everyone's forgotten about it. The next season already starts and it's underwhelming 2 years from now or something. So you need to do your due diligence. That can be one small factor, and you can prop that up. But this is different to me. This is his alma mater, right?
Yeah.
And I mean he balled for them. So you got to go home.
Going home, y'all.
Blaine, if you're Shaheen Holloway, like another thing is we always talk about the coach that's going to the next place, right? Shaheen Holloway is going to Seton Hall to be the head coach. But if you're now having to follow him at St. Peter's, like how hard is it? We've seen it work at a couple places. I mean, you think of a place like, Dayton and there's some other schools where you've seen them be able to have success after coaches have taken that next step up. There's another handful that I can name off the top of my head. But Blaine, how hard is it for the next guy that has to replace Shaheen Holloway at St. Peter's? Y'all just made a run to the Elite Eight, man.
It's not fun, but I mean, expectations should be expectations, but you shouldn't be expected to, they got the Elite Eight?
Yeah, well, I mean, are you expected now to dominate the conference every year and, at least win a game or two in the NCAA tournament? Because now you can go to recruits and say, hey, look, we can do it.
I think you can expect to dominate the regular season to a certain extent, but to expect to win 1 or 2 games in the tournament every year, because you're probably going to come in as a low seed. You probably have to play probably a 1 through 4 seed. So, do you want to win a couple games in the tournament? Of course you do. But should that be expected? No. I didn't even know who St. Peter's was.
I'm going to be honest with you, I didn't either.
Before the tournament. I mean, their campus is basically...
I thought he's like the guy who came down before you died and was like, hey, this is...
But they did good stuff, man. Like, they ran great sets, like timely sets. Like, they knew where the matchup was. Their guys played hard on both sides.
They weren't afraid.
They weren't afraid. I like watching them play. I mean, Doug, he got hot. But they kind of remembered, they kind of forgot, but then remembered who they were versus North Carolina.
Well, just think about it. St. Peter's took out Kentucky and Purdue.
They
took out
and Murray State was good, man.
And Murray State was good too. But you took out Kentucky and Purdue.
When they were beating Purdue, I legitimately said, this team could win. Like, they could beat
When I saw the pace of that game, and it kind of was going back and forth, Purdue got up there a little bit late, and I was like, all right, well, you're probably about to see the nail get driven in St. Peter's, man.
Well, you go back to the Kentucky game. The shots they were hitting in the Kentucky game, I was like, I saw that first game, and I was like, this might be the team.
Well, then you see Doug Adair with the mustache. I'm like, they just got the makeup of one of those.
I mean, in my opinion, like, their guard play was just as caliber as the best teams in the nation.
Oh, it was, look, what they were doing at the 1 and the 2.
For sure.
The whole tournament was nice.
Back to the point on what should we expect from them moving forward. I think, you build championship programs slowly over time. Look what Coach K has done, right? So the best thing they can do is use this unbelievable run to go land a couple recruits, like you said, that they wouldn't have had. Then you use those couple recruits to get into the next tournament. And then you use that tournament to get into a couple more recruits. And you build this thing slowly over time. All of a sudden, 10 years from now, why couldn't you look back and say, man, St. Peter's is perennially in the tournament, and they get to the Sweet 16 half the time.
They could become. I mean, there's teams now that we look at and we're like, all right, we're used to seeing the smaller ones make. I mean, Murray State at one point.
Murray State,
was like that.
Or these Big East teams, like where he's going. I mean, like the Big East. I like seeing the Big East good in basketball.
Oh, he'll win at Seton Hall.
He'll win the Big East. How long do you give him?
No, well, it'll take some time. I mean, you still got Nova and
Providence,
St. John's is just scary as hell. Providence with Ed Cooley. I think he'll win it eventually, but I think he's going to get Seton Hall back to not that they've just been absolutely horrible, but man, I remember Seton Hall just bully ball, just guys from the city that just played bully ball, could hit tough shots, whether it be mid range, whatever. They always got a big man down there that'll get nasty, that'll be able to pick up the garbage, put the ball in the basket when they need to, go to the line. So I think he's going to bring that Seton Hall mentality back a little bit, to when he played. I mean, he was a legitimate player. I mean, this guy balled and hit big shots in clutch moments. But speaking about clutch moments, Blaine, do we have any questions before we move on to the John Wooden Award finalists for college basketball? Yep. And there's really only one answer, in my opinion. But
is there?
There is only one answer.
And we got a question here from Arhan.
Arhan.
My name's Arhan. I'm from Virginia. What's up, Arhan? Love the show. Great to have a show that has politics out of sports. My question is, can Rodgers win a Super Bowl with now being the highest paid player in NFL history, and I think Deshaun Watson is now.
I think Deshaun Watson may be the highest now.
But it's not like
Highest
Aaron Rodgers is
guaranteed.
still getting
Yeah, I
paid.
mean, yeah, they're not, they're not going to have to get in a bread line anytime soon. Look, football, we've talked about, you have superstars, right? Tom Brady, megastar. Devontae Adams, megastar. I can go down the list. But football is not like basketball and baseball. You have to have the pieces around you in football to be able to win a championship, regardless of how good one person is. In baseball, you can have a pitcher that is just absolutely amazing that can go out there and shove for 9 innings and get you through a game to win it when you have to have it, or multiple games to win when you have to have it. In basketball, you can have a LeBron, you can have a Giannis, a guy like that can take over at any point in time and get you through big moments to win games almost single-handedly. It's the truth because you affect the game more.
Mm-hmm.
Football is a lot different in that iota. Aaron Rodgers is unbelievable. He is a witch of the highest order. 100% witch. They'd have burned him at the stake in Salem if he was alive during the 1600s. But he cannot do this by himself, and the Packers do not have the weapons around him. I don't care who they've added on the periphery here lately. You lose Devontae Adams. You don't have anybody really. That's really all you had was Devontae Adams. Tanyan, I know, was effective in the seam somewhat, but the Packers, Blaine, don't have the weapons. If you don't have the weapons, regardless if you have one nice weapon and no other weapons, you're not going to win the war. And Aaron Rodgers is a damn good weapon.
Now win the draft.
If you're relying on rookies, it's like relying on freshmen, buddy. You better be good. You better put your hands together.
The thing about it is, with me is this. Devontae Adams is a top 3 receiver.
Mm-hmm.
Top 3, top 4 receiver.
I think he's best receiver in football.
I'm taking DeAndre Hopkins.
I just think
I'm
Devontae
taking
is better.
That's
a tight race. That's two really good players.
You go back and you look at the Packers, you look at Aaron, you look at Devontae Adams, man, it was just those two guys. That was it. No one, it was either, if they were throwing, it's going to Devontae Adams. Does it hurt losing Devontae Adams? Yes, it does.
It's devastating.
But I still think the Packers, one, you better draft a receiver. If you don't draft a receiver, y'all all should be fired. Because at this point, you lost Valdez Scantling. He's gone. So if it's me and on the Packers, I'm going after 2 receivers. Treylon Burks will be one of them. I think he's going to be probably the biggest steal of the draft.
His hands are like this.
That kid is an absolute freak. I watched him play mostly every game. I mean, he can do it all. Route running, in and out of breaks, fade balls, go up and get it. He's that type of guy. So I think it'll be better for the Packers almost in the long run to win the draft, get a couple guys and actually start throwing the ball around the field, because it was literally, it almost got to the point where Aaron Rodgers, it was one progression. That progression is Devontae Adams. And you go back to the playoff games, what the 49ers did and what the team started doing in the playoffs was just bracket Devontae Adams and literally had nobody else. So I think, this does free up some space for you cap-wise. If you don't go get a guy, you got to win the draft. I think you get a couple of receivers. But I feel like this doesn't hurt the Packers as much as people think it does.
When you have the most accurate passer in the history of the game, which I think Aaron Rodgers is, at a storied franchise that's been to 3 straight NFC championships, you always have a chance. So I'm not, you can never say never with this guy. But let's just ask a simple question. Did the Packers get better so far this offseason? I don't think they have.
No,
okay?
Even with signing Aaron Rodgers.
And like he said, if you're relying on rookies, that's like relying on freshmen. I don't see it, and I don't think that Aaron Rodgers offsets that with his championship desires. You know what I'm saying? Yes, everybody wants to win. I'm not talking about wanting to win. There's a difference between wanting to win and I'll do absolutely anything necessary to win. That's what I see when I see Tom Brady, right? Okay, I don't think that Aaron Rodgers has that sort of mentality, which you would need to offset the Packers not being phenomenal right now in terms of their assets.
Well, who else has that mentality?
Just in football? Just in football or other sports? Rafael Nadal has that to me.
Tom Brady, so you're saying mentality would be taking a pay cut of Aaron Rodgers, right? That's what you'd be saying?
Not necessarily. That would be one way to showcase it. I just mean with all of if it were me, everything that I said publicly would always be about the team and about winning. It would never be about me or me as an individual. That's what I'm talking about.
I'm confused when you say that you don't think it's as bad for the Packers as what everybody else thinks. I don't care who you go get at wide receiver in this draft, and I know it's loaded. You lost probably the best receiver. You lost your only legitimate threat. Aaron Jones is really good. Is a really good player at running back. Catch the ball out of the backfield. He's a do-it-all guy. We know he's special. But you lost a legitimate, elite, top shelf. I am starting a team from scratch. Who am I taking a wide receiver? A lot of people would start with Devontae Adams. You re-sign Aaron, that's great, but what good is a nice rifle if you can't turn the safety off of it, if you don't have the other part of it, if you can't really shoot the gun, if you're out there relying on guys that really haven't done it, that are unproven, that are young, as opposed to Devontae Adams, even if he's that only guy. Because you could keep Devontae Adams, add another weapon, and try and spread out the field that way. It's not like the Packers don't want to run a more balanced offense in the passing game. I'm just trying to figure out how, even if you're saying, well, we got all this for him, it was great, and we've got a hit in the draft, you can hit a grand slam in the draft, but it's not Devontae Adams.
Well, a couple things here. One, I think the relationship between Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers was getting worse by the moment.
Okay.
Two, losing Devontae Adams is huge. I'm not saying it's not. But let's go back and look. The Packers did, I believe, offer him a little bit better contract than Devontae Adams, with not as much guaranteed money. The relationship sounded with me, and Aaron Rodgers being able to spread the ball more around the field and not just rely on one person, I think will help the Packers offense in general. Is it awesome to have Devontae Adams out there who's always open, who's your go-to guy for sure. But I think in the long run, if you draft right, you get two guys in maybe the second year, third year that are turning into elite receivers. I think for the Packers, you'll save money and your offense will be somewhat more efficient than just relying on one person.
So Aaron Rodgers has a 3-year deal left. You're basically banking on that third year making it.
Yeah, and I don't think Aaron will be done after 3 years.
Okay, well, we'll see if he's done with the Packers or not. But I do want to move on and talk some John Wooden Award finalists. We've talked about this a little bit throughout the season. You've got Johnny Davis from Wisconsin on the list. You've got Keegan Murray from Iowa. You've got Oscar Tshiebwe from Kentucky, Abaji from Kansas, and Drew Timme from Gonzaga. I know they got beat by St. Peter's, speaking of St. Peter's in the first round, but over the course of the year, because to me, when you're picking this award, this is the most valuable player to their team in the country. That's the way that I look at this. We're not talking about who's going to be the number 1 NBA draft pick. That's a totally different thing. You can have some crossover there, but it's a totally different thing. I don't know how you don't give this to Oscar Tshiebwe. Talking about from a consistent standpoint, walking double-double. You know what you were going to get every night. Offensively, to me, his game kept getting better throughout the year. He added that mid-range a little bit, but if you take him off Kentucky, and not that St. Peter's totally neutralized him, but he didn't dominate that game the way I thought he was going to. If you take him off Kentucky, out of teams that we thought were legit contenders, which Kentucky was, to me, that'd be more devastating than taking Keegan Murray off Iowa, than taking Johnny Davis on Wisconsin. There is an argument there. There were nights where Johnny Davis would absolutely put on the invisibility cloak and had taken 40 shots to make 6 of them. All right, Drew Timme at Gonzaga, very solid player. We know what he did last year. We know what he did this year. You could make an argument, but I don't think he was as vital as if you took Chet Holmgren off that team, to be honest with you. Wow. I think you can make an argument for that because at least it gives you another low post presence there in the front court. I really believe this is Tshiebwe's trophy, and it has been for a while.
This gets into the conversation that we had in the NBA with the MVP, which is, should this award go to the best player, or does it go to the player who's most valuable for their team, and their team would be worse without them on it? Look, I think this has to go to Oscar Tshiebwe with averaging a double-double, the only one on this list who averages a double-double, and I think is 60% from the floor. I don't know if I want to say that Kentucky would be the worst team without this finalist on their team. I think there's other teams, like you're talking about Keegan Murray in Iowa. I don't know, man. Iowa may fall off worse than Kentucky if you took Keegan Murray off that team. Or I was going to get to some guys here who maybe were close contenders to be on this list, like a Scottie Pippen Jr.
Oh yeah, Vandy would have been
you take
disaster.
Scottie Pippen off them; they're horrendous. Yeah. I don't think that he deserves to win the award over Oscar Tshiebwe, though. I think he was the most dominant player in college basketball, and more importantly, the most consistent. Like you talked about, this isn't somebody like Johnny Davis just putting up a bunch of shots and then can score a high amount of points in one game. I mean, Oscar Tshiebwe was putting up a double-double almost every single time we watched him. We watched almost all those games from January 1st until March.
And it was on the offensive glass and the defensive glass.
He did on both sides.
What do you think?
I think both you are right. I think Oscar does deserve this trophy, but I don't think enough people are talking about Abaji from Kansas. You go for early that year to midseason that year. If Abaji wasn't going for Kansas offensively, they really didn't have much. McCormick has gotten better towards the end of the year. I think Braun has gotten better offensively towards the end of the year. But if you take Abaji off that team from early to mid-season, they don't win as many games. I think they drop a lot more games than they drop now. But I do think Oscar, just from an everyday showing up in the gym, consistency standpoint, I don't know how you don't give it to him.
Yeah, I agree. And, I was trying to think of some more guys maybe on some teams that weren't added on this list. Jabari Smith, like I said, it's not about being the number one pick. You do take him off Auburn, like you saw during the NCAA tournament when he's not hitting.
Yeah, I feel like you can almost say the same thing about Walker Kessler for Auburn.
You could.
He was the most important player on that team for most of the year.
I agree.
think Jabari was the most important player later in the year. Some names I had, like I said, Scottie Pippen Jr., Jaden Ivey, and Trace Jackson Davis could have all made the list, but I'm not sitting here saying, one of these guys should have
Jaden Ivey was one I was shocked was not on the list.
Me too.
Just from a scoring, from a burst standpoint, he came through a lot when Purdue needed him. I honestly thought he was going to hit that last three.
How much should you weigh the tournament in this award? None?
No, I think you got
all of these finalists.
My thing is, I think you have to weigh it, but I don't think it should outweigh the games before this.
Okay.
Like I think it's the volume of games, not when the games or where the games were played. Because again, you have a whole non-conference, you have a whole conference, then you technically have a whole conference tournament, then the NCAA tournament. Weigh it all. That's why I get upset about the committee sometimes with the way they seed and make picks for the NCAA tournament. A lot of times they'll either lean too heavy on the front end of the schedule and then kind of lay off a little bit on the back end, or vice versa. To me, it should all be weighted in. I know you have the net, you have Ken Pom, and you have all this stuff, but it should all be weighted in, and then a decision should be made at the end. But, Blaine, let's go one more booster question. Let's get the picks on the bus tour 2022, the Big Easy bus tour. Just glad you're here, bud.
All right, Ryan Stevens with the question. Hey, guys. What's up, Ryan? Does Tyreek Hill have a significantly less impressive season without Patrick Mahomes, or does Mahomes have not the same success without Tyreek as a weapon whose performance takes the biggest hit?
I think Tyreek Hill's. I mean, when again, Patrick Mahomes is the guy that touches the ball every play.
Mm-hmm.
Patrick Mahomes is able to, extend the play, keep his eyes downfield, find Tyreek. A lot of the plays that the Chiefs hit, Eric Bieniemy, Andy Reid, those guys come up with some really good stuff offensively, but a lot of them are scramble drill type plays. A lot of the touchdowns you see, a lot to Tyreek Hill isn't a ton of design stuff. It's all right, Patrick made a defensive end miss, he's biding time. Well, there goes Tyreek Hill running a 4-1-2 across the field, and he hits him because he can throw it from a drop down angle 50 yards on a rope to Tyreek. So I think Tua's limited ability compared to Patrick Mahomes, because I think Patrick Mahomes is a hell of a lot better quarterback than Tua Tagovailoa will ever be. I think that's going to have a big effect. I think you're going to see Tyreek catch more balls near the line of scrimmage, whether they're now screens, whether it's spitting out in the bubble, part of the RPO package, stuff like that, than you are of Tua extending the play and launching the ball 65 to 70 yards.
Both of these guys are going to be making incredible plays for years to come. I don't know if we'll see as dynamic of a combination as these two guys for a while now, especially when you look at what they were able to do in the playoff against the Bills. I rewatched it again the other day. It was just incredible. But having said that, I mean, look, Patrick Mahomes is still, like he said, touches the ball every play. He's the guy who gets the ball into receivers' hands.
Why do I feel
Tyreek
like
Hill still needs.
I know. No.
Tyreek Hill still needs someone to get him the ball. So I just can't imagine he has a.
The thing about Tua is, if you look at Tua's stats right now, you compare him to Josh Allen's stats in the same year. Tua actually has better stats in the same year.
How so? Completion percentage?
Yeah, I believe yards and touchdowns.
Yards too?
Yeah. The next year. Of course, that doesn't include rushing yards.
You mean when that?
Oh, well, you're not. That doesn't include rushing yards.
Yeah, no. No. Obviously,
then you can't. It's not comparable to me.
Then
you got to compare.
I was just talking from a passing, quarterback standpoint. So we're talking about Tyreek Hill. So that's
and not last year, but the same. Their second year, their third year.
Yeah, second year. Yeah. I think it's going to hurt Tyreek Hill more just because of the people he has around him in that offense. I mean, you have absolute. He's not going to get the ball as much.
Mm-hmm.
Is what I'm saying. As he got at the Chiefs. I mean, you have Waddle, you have Parker, you got two new backs. Like, he's going to still hit the big plays, I think. And you look at Patrick Mahomes' stats without Tyreek Hill, they're phenomenal. I think he threw 9 touchdowns, no picks. I mean, Patrick is who Patrick is, no matter who's out there. But Tyreek is going to be a drop-off just because, one, I think the personnel around him on that offense, especially receiver standpoint, it's better.
Yeah.
Um,
Tyreek was like the suicide doors on the Lambo.
Yeah, you had Tyreek and I mean
You had the
Travis
Lambo, you just
Kelce,
added
right? That's
suicide
who you
doors.
had. So you had your intermediate passing, and then you hit the long ball with Tyreek Hill. So I think Tyreek Hill would be the great player, same thing, running just as fast, outrunning fast people. But I feel like with the weapons that he have and the downgrade in quarterback at this point in Patrick Mahomes to Tua, so I think the biggest drop off will be with Tyreek Hill.
So we all agree. Wow, we all agree.
I don't feel like it's a
Write it
stretch, though.
down.
I don't feel like that's a stretch.
I don't feel like it's a
though.
stretch either.
Because at the end of the day, Patrick Mahomes, you touch the ball every play on offense. So, I mean, that's going to be the difference every time.
If you want to watch or listen to the rest of the show, head over to thedailywire.com right now. Become a member. Sign up. We are on the bus tour now. Obviously, we unveiled it. We're all hanging out. It's going to be a great time. New Orleans 2022. That was a reach and foul. We totally saw it on Blaine because that's what he does. Make sure you head over to thedailywire.com now and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, everywhere else. Tell everybody we're going, baby. New Orleans 2022.